Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wong Chat. We are on episode, I think, 40. I think we're on 40. Let me check. Did I post? Yeah, 40. Ooh, I've done 40 of this already. We started in like late February, and then now in June, so we're at 40 episode. I'm trying to do something special, the 50 episode, but I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But anyway, thanks for joining. My name is Martin, and of course, we're doing this right now live on Twitch. We're doing this right now every Tuesday, Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And you can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, on everywhere else. We also just moved all my one-on-one chat to a different channel, so making sure you go check that out as well. Tonight we have the Ladee Danger. She's a good friend of mine. She does amazing stuff. We were just talking right before this, and apparently she do a lot more than I already knew that she's doing a lot already. We met in the cosplay world, but we kind of haven't seen her in a while in the cosplay world. It's a little bit different, especially with COVID. But you know what? I'll let her explain herself so she can tell us more about her. Hey, what's up, Brady?
Hi, Martin. How are
How are you?
you?
Good, good. It's getting hotter and hotter in LA. I just realized, especially with all my lights in my room, it's really warm.
It's
So
I used to my old apartment I lived in LA. The air conditioning didn't reach my room, so when I would stream and I'd have all my lights on, it would be like 100 degrees plus, and I'd just be like melting.
and you said, be like, "Hi everyone, this is great."
This is awesome.
Yeah, no, I think I do. But the problem is that our last month, our AC for some reason gone way too high or something. So I still have to talk to the electric company, but it's not right that they're charging us way overpriced.
Oh
So
no.
I don't know. We'll look into it.
Easy to fix.
Hopefully, but they gave me a call and the reasoning is just like, oh, you used a lot of electricity. Like, yeah, not 4 times more, but they're charging us 4 times more. So I'm like, something's not right. But we'll see.
Because you guys are home more. I mean, I don't know what your working
Yeah,
situations are based on COVID, but I know at least mine and my roommates' bills have gone up since we've been home because we're home all day now.
right. It shouldn't be that high, but you know what? We'll figure it out. But yeah, how's COVID treating you now?
Um, it's there. It's real. The biggest difference for me is I'm working from home now. So currently I'm working as a video editor for a Magic the Gathering podcast called The Command Zone. And
Mm,
so I've just been working from home. Like I've been one of the lucky people that I'm still working pretty much the exact hours that I worked before. And so that hasn't really been affected too much, but you know, having a social life is completely gone and now balancing, working from home and like being distracted by my dog or whatever and just trying to still work to the caliber that I was working before and with everything going on in the world it's sometimes like it's well not sometimes it's absolutely overwhelming
mm.
and now I'm just like in my own safe bubble at like in my room and my place but I'm still like trying to work with all of these emotions of like what I'm feeling of what's going on. And some like it affects my work sometimes where I'm just like, oh, I need to take like a 5 minute break and just like sit in a dark room alone.
People were saying like now they have like bedtime pajamas and daytime pajamas for like just working and non-working time.
For me, it's more like pants on, pants off.
Yeah, like before COVID, do you have to like were you still doing editing like of a podcast or were you doing something different?
Before COVID, I was doing that. I've been working there since I think November. And so
Mm.
I was there, a few months before all of this happened.
Do they
And
shoot it live? Like with
uh
like bringing guests or
yes.
they still do it online?
Mhm. No, so we've been kind of like up in the air right now. So before COVID happened, we were, we have this show called Game Nights, and so we would have, Magic the Gathering creators come in and we'd film and, we'd work in the office together. And now with COVID, we haven't really been able to do that at all, Nobody's allowed to
Mm.
travel, nobody's in the office, everybody's working from home. And so everything's just kind of been on pause uh,
Mm.
as far as, like, having new people come in and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the thing is that we don't really have an end date. We don't know when it's exactly where it's like cool, we are done with the COVID and we can all back to normal. And it's not gonna be like a switch to, it's gonna be a transition.
It's gonna be a complete transition, and I think a lot of people are dealing with it right now and the changes that are happening and that are being implemented that they have to do in their life depending on, where you live and, how your state is dealing with it. And I'm I'm hoping that some of these positive changes, can be implemented moving forward. Like,
Mm.
I love that in, Japan, they wear like, if you're sick or you're traveling in, like, a very, populated, train or something, a lot of people wear masks. It's, like, very normal, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping that that's something that can translate here, but from everything that's happening now, I do not foresee that. Um but a lot of the things that I've never really been able to utilize, like grocery shopping online and things like that, I'm like, I never wanna go to a grocery store ever again. You know what I mean? I don't mind, paying somebody that's working hard to do that for me, to allow me a little bit more time to myself, and so I'm just hoping that through this whole experience, we as a country can learn to be a little bit more considerate of each other, because I feel like it's something that we as Americans, we're not really good at
But it's
all.
such a not American thing to do. Like Americans love doing what they love to do, and they hate it when someone else tell them what they cannot do. That's when they go like, "F this! I'm definitely doing it
Oh,
because you told
yeah.
me I can't." Yeah,
It's like a country founded on the biggest, like
yeah,
are we allowed to swear?
yeah. You can swear. Yeah,
Okay, it's like the country founded on, like, the biggest "fuck you." So, like,
yeah,
we're
yeah.
not okay with people telling us what to do, but at the same time, you have to think, like, there's other people around you, and all of your actions affect those other people, so
I mean, that's
I'm
what it
just
is,
like,
right? We're like at first like very colony of the British, and then they were like, "No, we don't want to be. Fuck you. We're out." And then it's like,
yeah.
"All right." Then they did it, and that's how we founded this country about 300 years ago.
Yeah, so it's like I'm hoping that some of the things that are happening during this will help us as a country and come together and, maybe be a little bit more considerate.
What I don't like is that I see a lot of countries are saying like, or like how a lot of us saying like, oh, how other countries are doing so well with this and that. But it's kind of hard. We are a really big country. Like for example, people were comparing us to New Zealand, right?
Mhm.
But New Zealand population is really small. People compare us
It
to Canada. California has a bigger population than the whole country of Canada. So I mean, yeah, a state can do very well, but a country wise, it's not going to be easy to implement stuff to do. Especially we
it
love so much our freedom.
yeah, and so it's just like, I hope that all of you are taking care of yourselves and the people around you, because like we don't know when it's going to end. We don't know if there's going to be a cure. It's a virus. It's going to mutate just like anything else. So I just hope that at some point we get to a stabilized place where, you know, we can move forward with, you know, real
I don't
life
even,
again.
yeah, like the thing is that I don't know how to prep for it. It's not like I can, it's hard to tell, like, oh, if you do this and this, it will be fine. And it's not visible. Sometimes
Mhm.
also, like, it's going to stay in you for like 2 weeks. So it's not like, oh, I got sick, I instantly go to hospital. It's not like a cut, right? If you got stabbed, like, okay, I see what's going on, blood's coming out, I'll go to the hospital, I'll get that fixed. But this, like, you don't know if you got it or not got it, and you don't know how to really prevent it. You can minimize your risk, but not really completely prevent it from happening.
Yeah, and the other thing that I, as an American, is really hard is there's so much information and misinformation,
Mm.
in the digital age that we live in, and it's like one person says a mask, they say don't wear a mask. This person says wear gloves. This person says not wear gloves. And so you're like, what am I actually supposed to do?
We also
Yeah.
have this problem is that people will react to certain information and then do it way too over. Like for example, the mask situation, right? What if we want to reserve the mask for more frontline, like doctors and nurse? But if you tell people, yeah, mask is definitely is a necessary, then they'll overbuy it, and then we won't have enough supply for people who really need it.
You mean
You
like
know?
toilet paper?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Freaking toilet paper. Oh my god. There was like 3 weeks I could not get toilet paper, so I keep end up just buying a lot of alcohol. So every time I went to the store, like, I'm gonna go get more TP, and then when there's like, oh, there's none left, but there's a case of, like beer or like a case of like wine, like, all right, I guess I'm picking this up. I'm getting some soju.
Oh, yes, I love soju. So, right before the pandemic hit, I went and I got some toilet paper. I did not overbuy toilet paper. I just got a regular, normal size package of toilet paper, and my roommate wanted to be, like, extra careful, so he ordered some toilet paper online, and it came, like, 2 months later, I think, and in reality, it was, like, miniature toilet paper. Like, I kid you not, it was, like, this big, just just this tiny little pieces of toilet paper, and this tiny package came in. I was like, "Steve, was this the toilet paper you were looking for?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "It's real small." And he opened it up, and it was just tiny, and so, I think the other thing is, like, a lot of people are taking advantage of our, impulses. So, like,
Hmm.
we are running out of things, but then, like, now you have these tiny little, bottles of hand sanitizer that are now, like, $20, and you're like, "Okay, well, can
Hmm.
can I just be safe without being, dirt poor now?"
Finally, we're like back to the point where we can actually buy toilet paper. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing else happens where, everybody gets massive diarrhea and now everybody needs more toilet paper.
2020 has been a crazy ride. It's only June. It's only been half the year, but we have did
I
a
f
lot.
I feel like everybody keeps saying it, and then it feels like this is the longest year ever, and I can imagine if I think about it, like, my grandmother was born in 1924, she was born, around the Great Depression, and, like, that had to have been the longest years of her life, and now here we are, not necessarily the Great Depression, but, like, through a crazy pandemic and epidemic, and you're like, "Oh, is this, like, a portion of what they felt?" Where you're like, "I don't know if it's gonna end, I don't know, what's going on," so
Hmm. And
now I can
recession is
end.
gonna happen. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's definitely affected how our economy work. Like, even if we go back to work completely, we actually have lots of people who actually die. So we lost a lot of people in the workforce. So,
Yeah, and then a lot of businesses are going under, so there's, like, not gonna be jobs for people that had jobs previously to go back to, and,
hmm.
I know a lot of people are even considering changing careers because their career isn't it's not feasible to do
Dude,
that
I thought
anymore.
about it too. Like, I'm kind of like, I'm not saying I'm worried. I don't think I'm worried because it's so far, it's luckily it's still working out for me. But I'm like, this is so unsteady for me for what I'm doing. But here's the thing: I have done corporate life before, right before what you all know me as now, mostly a photographer, Twitch streaming a bit. I was working in Silicon Valley, so I do a lot of tech job, but man, it was not creative enough and it was killing me slowly every day. So that's the only reason why I haven't gone back yet. Because every time I like, I want to do that so I have stable, income. But then I like, no, I was really depressed because of that. So,
Yeah, I feel like I hit the jackpot with my job because it's stable, which is like more than I can say that I've had in the past 3 or 4 years. Uh,
hmm.
and because working with cosplay and video game companies, it's like you hope you have one really big project and that'll get you through half the year, or maybe if you're lucky, and then like you're
Hmm.
hoping that you have something else. And I can't even imagine doing that now because like with what's going on, and I just feel so absolutely lucky that I have a stable job, that I had one before the pandemic, and then I have one after, because I don't know, I would be homeless, I think at this point. And sure, you I can stream, but even the streaming platforms and YouTube and podcasts, they're all being flooded because now so many other people are looking for additional sources of income that they
Hmm.
can do from home. And it makes the grind even harder for those that are just starting in that. Cause you're like, well, now like we said
Yep.
before, everybody's got a podcast now.
Hmm.
And so you're like, okay, well, I can't do that. Or now I have to find a super niche part of this to do or be a part of. And you're like, is that even gonna be able to do it, you know?
And I feel like every cosplayer is now trying to jump on the stream boat as well too,
Mhm.
because especially with COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, they can't go to conventions, they can't, um, sell prints at conventions or anything like that, which I know
Hmm.
was a source of income for a lot of people. And, they're moving to OnlyFans and Patreon. And, that's all fine and dandy, but it's still so much work.
Hmm.
As you and I both know, it's so much work. And a lot
So
of
much work.
people don't know that, like, how much work that actually is. And they're like, I'm just going to start a Patreon and it's going to be great. I'm like, good luck.
Yep. By the
you know?
second month, it's like I can't create that much content and like keep backlog and print and ship.
Yeah,
But
and then even with the shipping, shipping's
mhm.
delayed because of everything, and then you get people that are angry, and you're like, "I have no control over it," and it's just a spiral.
But like even the whole cosplay industry itself is it's a weird. Here's I've been in it for over 10 years, and I know you've been in it for a long time, maybe even as long as I have. It's weird because I have lots of photographers from around the world that's on my Discord, and I talk about this all the time. If we didn't do what we have done to industrialize cosplay, we wouldn't get to what it is now, which is kind of helpful, kind of double-edged sword. But at the
Mhm.
same time, is that it's not the direction I really wanted to go. But unfortunately, it did go. Like I don't know. What do you think about that?
Um, so I started cosplaying in, like, roughly around 2011, so almost 10 years. I'm not good at
Mm-mm.
math. And when I first started cosplaying, I was just ecstatic to make things, to
It
make
was
things.
exciting.
Yeah, it was so exciting. It was like such an I don't wanna say like a new thing because it was happening before that, but for me, it was like such a new thing, and I just wanted to make. I wanted to make, make,
Hmm.
make, 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 but I've always been like a business-minded person because 'cause I've
Mm.
also been streaming. Gosh, I've been streaming for 6 or 7 years now, and
Mm.
so as soon as I really got into cosplaying, and then I also got into streaming a few years later, and I was like, "Oh, I can do both. That's gonna be great." And then
Brittany, hold on.
yeah.
We
Oh,
lost your camera
oh
for a second.
no.
Is that a normal thing?
Oh, it's a new camera, I don't know.
Did it like self turn off?
I think so. Let me see. Sorry, guys.
No worries. I
Technical
mean, we can still
difficulties.
hear you perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So your mic and your headphone is great. But yeah,
This has never happened before. I wonder if my
maybe.
battery died.
Oh,
I don't
possibly.
I don't know.
Is
I
it
can
off?
Yes, it is off.
Okay, it
I
might
can
be the
switch
battery.
I can switch to my other camera.
Sure, take a moment. Yeah,
Sorry, friends.
no worries. Like I was wondering, it's like should I tell her like because you're right in the middle of a
I
sentence
know
and I
it's
was.
right. I know. Good
Dude, but that
thing.
camera that you said you got, like that was a great one. The was it the Sony Z7? Is that what they're
Yeah,
called?
I think that's the one that I got.
Let's see.
And what I realized is I don't think because for my other camera, I have like where you can plug it in and you don't have to worry about your battery dying.
ZV1. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
You
I
need
don't have that for this one yet.
yeah, go yeah, you need to buy one then. Like I just show my housemate on how to do the whole um using a camera as a webcam and that kind of stuff. And here's the thing though. It's surprising how there's still not a very good webcam out there in the market. And people are still using, video cameras or like photography cameras, but it's actually not that hard to set up.
It
So
really isn't.
yeah, but we'll see. Like that's I feel like that's what separate a lot of stream from good quality to like, oh wow, this seemed like a much higher productions and stuff like that.
You're like, "This is some professional stuff going on," and then here I am, mine turns off.
It's okay. That's what a live show is for. Oh, guys, we're live.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, dude, but I haven't done live show in such a long time. Like I enjoy doing I enjoy the madness of it sometimes.
I do not. You're
Yeah,
like,
no.
I
I
ugh,
think when was the last time I did host some cosplay contest? Wait, you do hosting as well, right?
I do. I've been dipping my toes into, Magic: The Gathering hosting.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I absolutely love it. It's a weird experience because you're I don't know if you've hosted stuff before, but if you
Yeah.
do like a casting where you're an analyst, which is what I
Mm.
was doing, you
Mhm.
are like you have somebody talking in your ear and
Mhm,
like
mhm.
while you're also trying to explain a play that's going on
Mhm.
and you're like, okay, just like focus. You're like, you can do this. It is fine.
I have a guest on like 2 months ago. Her name is Glitter Explosion, and she also did coasting, did casting, this analytics. Man, those but the ones that with analytics, I feel like so difficult because like you get given data and you want to making sure you be very smooth when you talk, but also bring up those talking points and making sure you're related to those data as well, and you can't really get it wrong.
No, you can't. Like I kept saying things incorrectly because I was nervous. But you're like, you're trying to be informative and you're trying to make sure
Entertaining.
that you're entertaining and also like still trying to sorry, I'm trying to plug this in here. Uh you're trying to like do a million different things at once and a lot of people don't realize that like having somebody talk in your ear while you're also you like stating an analytical like play is really
Hmm. It's
difficult.
really difficult. And also, like, even if you ignore them, it's still very difficult. But sometimes it's not, you can't. You have to, like, know what they're saying as well, because you'll be streaming, you'll be talking, and then, oh, it's not streaming, sorry. You'll be, like, on the show live. There'll be, oh, here you are.
I'm coming back.
But yeah, so, like, you have to, you don't have to click record. You know you're recording right now, right?
No, I accidentally clicked it.
Just FYI.
I know. I'm a professional. Uh,
uh, but yeah, no. So like, yeah, when someone's talking, because like sometimes like important information too. Like someone's talking to you, and you're like, all right, lady, we have 20 seconds until we go to ad. So try to wrap it up, and you're like, yeah, that was a great play, and you like keep trying to talking, like, I do 20 seconds, yep,
you're like 20
and
seconds. All right, that was a great play. And now I'm gonna give it back to you, Johnny.
and like hopefully it's Johnny. It's like, oh, did he say Johnny, or did he say like some other name? It's like, oh shoot.
But yeah. Now I'm
But
distracted. I'm like,
no worries, no worries. Welcome back. We were
thanks.
talking about cosplay and
Yes.
then how we fell in love when we first started, but then
Yeah.
kind of shifted after that.
Yeah. So once I started I took a really weird route with my cosplay. Most cosplayers are like, I'm gonna go to a million conventions. And I did that for a while. And then I was like, you know what? I don't want to sell prints. I don't want to, do all of this hustle and bustle because it wasn't feasible for me to be able to travel that much. And
Hmm.
so I started working with video game companies, which was kind of like it was sort of happening, but not like a lot. And so the few people that did actually get to work with really big video game companies, it was like really cool. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I kind of took that route and then I tried the Patreon thing and I did sexy photo shoots and that was great. But I stepped away from it because what I realized it was doing is it was eating away at myself. It
Mm.
made me, in the same way you see magazine women of like they're just they're perfect, right? And I was seeing all these other cosplayers and all their stuff was so perfect. Their bodies were perfect, their hair was perfect, their costumes were immaculate and I was like I could never live up to that. I can never live up to the amount of content that they're putting out. I don't have those tools available to me and it was
Mm.
eating away at my self-confidence, my self-image. I was getting like imposter syndrome and all this other stuff as it like my career went farther along because I saw the community just shifting, right? It wasn't always it wasn't like just do what makes you happy anymore. It was do what's current, do what's popular, do what
Hmm.
people want you to do, or you're not going to get noticed. And, or if you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're not gonna be popular, and if you're trying to make a business out of it, those are all important things.
Mhm, mhm.
And I just kinda, like, stepped away. I was like, "I need to take care of me, and I need to take care of my brain and my body and the way that I wanna be viewed, and I won't let anybody tell me what I should be doing." And
Mhm.
so I stepped away from it because I lost a lot of joy that it was bringing me from when I originally started, and I still really stuck it to the man and did things that were really obscure and nobody really knew about because it made me happy. So, like, in that aspect, and I'm kind of at the point now where I just miss making things so
Mhm.
much that I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? I wanna make, a costume here and a costume there," but I'm not gonna have anybody tell me what they want, and, I'm gonna listen to my community because those are the people that have stuck by me through all of those ups and downs.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
I was like, "I'm gonna focus on, being a host and maybe something that'll have a little bit more longevity," because being a cosplayer, you know, you don't really see a lot of old cosplayers.
Well, we never went through a full life cycle of what a cosplay career is like. Even cosplay as a career is such a new thing. So
Mhm.
there are a few pioneers in our industry that we saw happen, and there's maybe only two routes we have seen that works. And they're
Yeah.
very limited, and also it's very special circumstances, you know?
I think it's extremely special circumstances because right now, like, I can list off maybe, like, 5 cosplayers that are really doing well for themselves, Yaya,
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, Kamui, Kimpatsu, and, like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a few others that are, like, really, like, they're going. They are machines, they are, like,
Mm-hmm.
unstoppable, but I feel like all of them offer something so specific, and I think when they started, the community was just so different at that point. There was, like, nothing like it or nothing like
Mm-hmm.
them specifically, and so they've been able to flourish, and because you flourish early, you don't I don't wanna say you don't have to work as hard because they still work very, very
They
hard.
got lucky in a position where they can work hard.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is exactly it, and now it's like a grind to climb Mount Everest to
Mm-hmm.
even match anything to it, and you have to go into it knowing that you're not gonna be Jessica Negri, you're not gonna be Yaya Han, you are gonna be you, and that has to be okay.
And the disparity between the top, let's say 10, and then the next top 10, and then it's the rest. Like, other than the top, like maybe 20, the scale is just way too crazy, you know? Like, the top people are making a lot of money and working really hard. But the rest of them are working really hard, but they're not making even proportional to that amount at
It's
all.
not even close to the
Not
same.
even close, yeah.
Nothing.
So, I mean, I got lucky too. I got in at the right time, at the right place, where it was starting to flourish. But like I say this all the time, if I start doing this now, even I couldn't get to where I am right now or where I was, doing the cosplay side of things, because I've seen how people have done it too. And I have seen a lot of photographers do amazing, amazing work, but they're not getting the recognition they deserve. So,
And
it,
and I it's like that on both sides. There are tons of amazing
oh yeah.
cosplayers and crafters that are putting out phenomenal work
Just
that
like
just
you,
don't
I
get
mean, you
noticed.
make amazing work and you're super pretty as well. So, like it makes sense. It just people don't get that kind of thing that they deserve.
Yeah, and it's so funny because, like, just what you said, so many people have said that to so many people I know. They're like, "But you're so amazing, and you're so talented, and you deserve to be noticed." I'm like, "Yes, maybe, but, like,
But it's not happening.
I I it's not happening, and I don't see it." You know what I mean? Like, I just see me, and, like, I have a specific style in which I cosplay. I like to call it, like, hyper realism of, like, I'm gonna take this thing, and I'm gonna make it look like it came out of a movie, which is
Hmm.
not how everybody else cosplays,
Hmm.
and so it's so much more work and effort goes into it, and then you're like, "For what? I got a picture." And because 'cause I'm like, "I don't wanna sell prints." So, you know, and it's just, sharing your art with the world, and I think since I stopped cosplaying, 1, I feel so much better about myself, my self-image, and I also am now inspired to make art, but I'm not necessarily inspired to make replicas. Like, I'm more inspired to make my own original designs and to flex
Mm.
those muscles to be like, "Ah, here's this original character that you've never seen before and that, like, nobody else has ever done." Because to me, that's a little bit more exciting, and it lets my artist brain kind of, like, flourish.
I think that the problem with cosplay is that, and modeling in general, is so tied to self-image. Like, I feel like professional models has to learn and have already learned to, separate between how you're being seen, the products that you're producing versus who you are as a person. But lots
Mhm.
of people put, how they look as a it's so tied to their own personal trait, so they kind of get discouraged from it. I'm a photographer. I see all the flaws of every single person. Like, nobody's perfect. I spend hours editing people's face and body all the time. Trust me, it's not that fun. But but here's the thing, like, for me, I think I can separate between how someone look and how it, because like I see so many different people. That's the thing.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be so something that so speak to yourself as, but it does your confidence. Your confidence will definitely affect by it, right? Like you're like,
Yeah.
well, I don't feel like I see myself as good, and as you said, imposter syndrome. And even though you're fully aware, the photos and video you see online are not exactly real. They all been edited. They all been, someone like me who spent hours, retouching photos. But
Your
it's
photos
still a
are
very
amazing, though.
thank you, thank you. But there's the thing, the same thing with my photos too. Like, I like my photos, my portraits very different than my cosplay photos.
Mhm.
Like I spent a lot of time on it, but as you said, sometimes like I hope someone do realize it, because I'm spending 2 or 3 hours on a single portrait of details that you will never able to see. Like the very like retouching stuff, but
Yeah.
it sucks. Is
The other thing, like, along the lines of that is I kept trying to make myself marketable. Try to make myself, friendly and this and that, which I mean, there are things that I am, but like kind of go above and beyond. You're like, "Oh, I'm gonna like be a caricature of myself." And that's something I told myself I never wanted to do. With my community, transparency is pivotal for me. You're
mm,
gonna get me and you're gonna get 100% me. And that's how I felt like I wanted my cosplays to be presented as well, and like my business and all of that, which is why it was so easy to go from cosplaying to hosting, because I never had this false narrative of who I was. It was always
mhm.
like, "This is exactly me, this is exactly what you're gonna get," and and I don't have to worry about it. And so that's why hosting's been so much easier, because I just get to be me, and that's good enough. They
Mm, mm,
want
mm.
me to be me, and the other thing I stopped doing along with cosplay, and this might sound really crazy because you're like, "Oh, well, it's your business and stuff like that," but I stopped posting on Instagram. I stopped using filters, I stopped wearing lots of makeup, I stopped, doing all of that because I didn't want that to validate me. I wanted myself to be good enough, just myself. I wanted to be able to look at myself in the mirror with no makeup on and be like, "You're amazing. You're wonderful. You're beautiful." And like, that is good enough. You don't
But you
need.
are, so that's like you're in a position that's very easy for you, so because you are all those things. So it's like,
Well, I know, but everybody has their own like demons, right? So like, I might look in the mirror and you see like this beautiful person, but I look in the mirror and I'm like, "Oh, you're getting old and you're not beautiful if you don't have fake eyelashes on," and all of these things that it's not just cosplay, it's like society in general that are telling you that you need to have X, Y, and Z to be beautiful. And so I really took the past, I think, year, 2 years to like just love myself and
mhm,
not worry about how anybody else was going to think that I looked or anything like that. And it's made me so much more confident. And I know it
mm,
seems crazy, but I see the burnout in a lot of my friends, and I see where I was in a lot of people that I know, and I know that it's scary to be like, "Nope, I'm just gonna, cold turkey. I'm not gonna do it anymore." Because it's their source of income or, whatever it
mhm.
may be. And I just did it because I was like, I can't. continue working this job that is eating me alive, like big business and the tech industries.
Mhm.
I don't wanna, like, die inside after every photo I get taken, uh, and then there's
Fair.
nothing left of me at the end of it.
Fair,
So,
fair, fair.
yeah, yeah, bring it back around.
Because I was like, "You're right, that's just not smart on the business side," but, like, you know what? Yeah, if it's killing you on the inside, like, I get it. Now I can relate.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's hard. Like, it's I feel like it's such a flip back and forth for me sometimes, 'cause it's good to be happy with yourself, but at the same time, you see so many others doing amazing things and getting all these opportunities, then you're like, am I supposed to do that too? And like, especially now, like in the recent week, we also see a lot of horrible people in our community, in our industry.
It's I am not surprised. I'm just gonna say that. I am not surprised,
Hmm.
um, because history tells us that people in power are always going to abuse their power.
Hmm.
So, seeing all of these victims come out with their experiences of what people in power have dangled over their heads or done to them is just disgusting, and I tell myself all the time, and I tell people close to me to hold your friends accountable because we live in a society where it's so easy to just be like, oh, well, he's not like that with me, or she's not like that with me, and I've never seen them do that, or, whatever it may be. But in reality, you might just not have been in the situation where that would happen.
Mm-mm-mm.
And then you're also, at big parties and conventions and stuff like that, where it's like you've got your little blinders on, you know what I mean? You might not see what
Hmm.
Joe Schmo's doing at the bar to this person or what this other person's doing to this other person. And so I feel like if we just hold each other more accountable, then it's a lot easier to nip those kind of things in the butt. And I
Mm-mm.
think it's the same thing where, I know a lot of these people don't say anything and a lot of these victims don't say anything because it's their jobs on the line.
Hmm.
And so, like, that's another thing is, like, if we can nip these actions in the butt before that person gets to a place of power, then hopefully that doesn't have to happen later down the line. Which is like
Yeah.
it starts from the bottom all the way up, you know what I mean? And it's like, I am the friend that will tell you if you're being an asshole, or if you're being disrespectful, or if you are, you know, doing something wrong, and I've gotten a lot of issues with that through my years because it's confrontational and it's rude or, however people wanna perceive it, but at the end of the day, I know that
Especially for women, like people keep using the phrase like, "Oh, she's hard to work with," you
yes,
know.
yes,
Hmm.
specifically being a woman, because 'cause we're supposed to be soft, and we're supposed to be this, and we're supposed to be all these things, and I'm like, "Move over, I'm none of those things," and I've lost friendships over it, but then I've also had people that have come back a year or 2 later being like, "You know what? Thank you. I needed to hear that, and you are the only person that said that to me." And so
Mm.
I don't mind being the bad guy to hopefully help somebody learn and grow because I understand that, people have been sheltered a lot of their lives, and they haven't been in situations where, they've, been around a lot of people of color, or they've been around a lot of gay people, or they've you know, been in a power position around, the opposite sex
Mhm.
or, whatever it may be because it goes through everything. And I'm just like, I will give you the benefit of the doubt that
Mhm.
you're not being purposefully ignorant.
And a lot of people in power or with fame has worshippers, and all they hear will be good things.
Yes, I like to call it, oh gosh, what did I just say to my roommate? It's like an echo chamber where
Mm.
a lot of these people in power surround themselves with people that will praise them till the end of the world, and they
All the
don't
yes
have
men.
yes, they have yes men, yes women, all of this, and then, one person infiltrates in and like me, will be like, no, 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 that is not okay." And then I'm like, I'm ostracized, and they're like, "How dare she? She's a troublemaker. She's this." And I'm like, "No, I know what it feels like to be the little guy, or I've had so many people around me that have been mistreated that I will not tolerate it around me." And and it's not just my friends. I've done it in public. I've done it in a grocery store. I've done it in the airport. I had this one time where this old white man tried to cut a whole line of like 15 people at the security, and like everybody's like looking at each other like, is anybody going to say anything? And I was like, "Excuse me, sir, like, you the back of the line is over there." And he's like, "No, I'm good up here." And I was like, "You just cut in front of like 5 different people. You can go to the back of the line." He's like, "Well, I'm here now." And, I was like, "You can take your white privilege and move it to the back of the line because it ain't
Mm,
happening." And he was like, "Oh, whoa, whoa." And I was like, "You know what? I don't care." And so he wouldn't move, and the security lady was like, because there's the big machine, and then there's like just a
mhm.
regular metal detector. And she was like, "Okay, all of you can come this way, and we're just gonna move you through this." And he tried to jump in the line, and she was like, "You can stay right there," and made him wait for all of us to go through the regular metal detector. And,
Yeah.
and then like he went in last. And so I feel like more people need to be less afraid of confrontation when it's about doing what's right. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? At that point, I don't think it's confrontation. I just think it's fact.
The problem is that people in power will always try to discourage people to do that, and they will try to weed out people that are whistleblower.
Mhm.
So it's not an easy job to do. It's also a lot of sacrifice. It's lots of risk.
And I totally get that, and sometimes it eats away at me. I'm like, "Why don't I have more friends?"
Mhm.
Uh, but it's a systemic issue. It's people
Mhm.
in power have made Americans not want to fight or
Mm.
argue for things that they deem as not correct,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
which is also led into how we are as people. And so I've been privileged to live a life where I have so many gay family members. I'm biracial. I've grown up with 4 or 5 different cultures around me at any given time. And so I've seen the struggle. I've had family members that have been drug addicts and alcoholics, and I've lost people at a very young age. So I've gone through a lot of trauma, and I've had a lot of trauma around me that you wouldn't think a 29-year-old has had around them, which has made
Mhm.
me me, right?
Mhm.
And so few people have had those experiences where they just write it off as, "Oh, that's just that never happened. That would never happen. That could never happen," right? Because 'Cause they've never been
Mhm.
in it, and you're like, "It happens every day." And so I'm like a fighter. I'm like, I will fight tooth and nail for my friends if it's something that I truly believe is correct and right. And, sometimes
Mhm.
I'm wrong, you know? My emotions get
Mhm.
the best of me, but I want more fighters, and it's
So
just gotta
with
be brought back in.
with the protesting going on and everything, and I've noticed for a long time too. But tell me more about the biracial kind of the identity of yours. Like, how does that
You're
like?
gonna make me cry.
I'm very interested in how is that like, and like especially if everything's going on.
Gosh. It's something I've struggled with for a really long time, and it's hard to talk about, and I know a lot of other biracial people will feel this way, and for me being a white passing person, I have a lot of privilege,
Mm,
um, but I'm also not neglecting the other people around me, like my sisters and my brothers and my nieces and my nephews that don't have that. And so there's oh gosh, I feel like my voice is lost
mm,
amongst everything that's going on because I'm biracial and I'm white passing. And people disregard my heritage because I look white. And I'm like, that's not fair. My dad's Native American and he's black. And
mm,
so you can't disregard all of that and the struggle of those people because I look white. because I know my privilege and I use it to their benefit constantly, which I think is what makes me so much of a fighter, because they can't fight because they get marked as the angry black woman or, the gangster or this or that or whatever somebody wants to wrap that into. And so I think that's why I stand up for the little people. I stand up for the people that are not viewed as right or correct or perfect. And there's just as much issue with being a no, there's not just as much issue. There's a huge issue with being a biracial person and trying to find where you fit in with society.
Do you get
Because
pushback from both sides? Like, or they?
yes,
Mm,
yes. As a kid, you get pushback from both sides. You're not black enough, you're not white enough, you're kind of ostracized by both sides. Or, I'm like, "I'm black," and they're like, "No, you're not," and I'm like, "Yes, I am. My dad, this and that," and they're like, "Oh, you could be the mailman's baby." And I'm
mm,
like, how could you say that to somebody? It's mostly things that happened when I was younger, but I still have to argue my nationality to people. And I'm like, I don't want to have to do that, which is why I don't talk about it very much, because I don't want to have to sit there and be like, yes, I am this thing. I don't care what you think I look like. You're not going to erase my history and the history of these people because you think I look like one thing. And it's so hard because for me, thinking of my mom and dad being together, you know, when I was younger, and the fights that they had just to be an interracial couple,
mm, mm,
and it is setting the future for us eventually. And of course this is very much in America, right?
mm,
Um it is setting the precedents for the future. In the future everybody's going to be mixed. There won't
yeah.
be just one or the other. And I'm like, we are the future, but we're being very forgotten, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
And I'm not saying by any means we have the struggle that people of color and, natives have in America, because we don't, but we have a different struggle that doesn't ever get talked about because we don't feel like we have a voice in either side of the opinion. Because
mm,
if I'm like, I'm going to stand up for, people of color, they're like, white girls sit down. Or if
mm-hmm,
I'm standing up for people of color to white people, they're like, yeah, but you have white privilege. And I'm like, but it doesn't mean that I don't see all of the chaos on both sides with everything. And I just so deeply want everybody to be treated equally. And that goes from being anywhere in between that, just a human being. They're human rights. And I don't get political on my Twitch. And I've always kept, politics out of a lot of things I post because it is more marketable. But
mm.
these things that we're going through right now are not politics.
It's
They're
human right.
human rights. And
Mm-hmm,
so, I think a lot of people are so surprised that I've been vocal about it. I don't think my community is. I think other people that didn't really know aren't surprised, but what I can say is that I'm so proud of the community that I have fostered, because I have not had a single person in my community come out and be like, "You know what? You just lost a follower. How
mm,
dare you? How dare you do this?" I have not had a single person do that. And I know very few creators that can say that, because I have focused from the beginning on inclusivity and community and respect in my
mm-hmm,
community. And it's a hard thing to put your foot down on and to do, because when your community gets so huge, you're like, oh, you know, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't be a social media manager and all these other things that cosplayers are to
mm-hmm,
monitor that community. And that's why I would rather just have this small community that is uplifting and positive in a world full of tons of chaos and negativity. I think my roommate tells me about this one guy who talks about 1,000 true fans, and that if you have 1,000 true fans that will always buy your book, that will always buy this, that'll buy your merchandise and buy that, it is worth more than having 10,000 followers on Instagram where two people will buy something. And
Definitely. Yep.
so that's what I focus on constantly is quality over quantity, and I think that gets lost in our age of social
Oh,
media.
definitely. Yeah. Like everything is quantity these days. I mean, we know we see it from the cosplay culture, the OnlyFan culture, lots of things, in general, and social media. It's just, even our president, he posts a lot, and they could be horrible things, but it'll be forgotten the next days because it's the next thing, the new thing, quantity.
And it also just goes back to, like, us as a society where it's like, what information is the right information? And if it's not, newsworthy, it just gets swept under the rug, but it doesn't mean it's any less important. And so I've found a place, specifically with on Twitch that I've fostered this community and, I've worked with those big companies and I've had them post me on social media, and the real breakdown for anybody that has worked in the social media industry is that doesn't translate. It does not
Mm,
translate. It doesn't mean you're going to get a million followers. It doesn't mean you're going to get all these other things. It's literally just a blip on the timeline of social media, and it's gone in an instant.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
we, like, gotta focus on that quality. It's so much more important, and that's why I've been trying to, you know, find tangible things in the community that I'm working in, because I used to be a really big in the League of Legends community, and I've switched over to Magic, and that's been my focus, and I've found a real good place in the community where my opinion is valued, and I feel like being a female in a male-dominated community with a loud voice for everyone else, I can make a difference.
So you're
And
fighting for many things.
yeah, I'm fighting for everyone. Like, I don't want any person to feel like they don't belong, because that's just not it. And I felt like I don't belong for so long as a kid, being biracial and being goth and being, and I was all over the place. I was a goth kid. I was a cheerleader. I rode horses. I played softball. I did all these things. And I could
It
never
sucks.
find a place that, like, I truly, truly fit in. And, like, now I feel like I found my voice and I found my place. And, like, I'm looking to make a difference. And I just hope that it's good enough.
And I can totally relate to that. Like I, as an immigrant, it's not easy to fit in, and the desire to fit in is very very strong. You want to be like one of them. You want to be people just care as much as you do. And it's kind of like feel like when you in a house party, in a room party, where you try to talk and then nobody respond, and someone could say either the same thing or something, and then they get all the cheers, and you're like, look, man, I just want to be part of this. I don't even have to be the most popular one here. I just want to be one of us. That,
Mhm.
and it sucks. And I know how, like, fighting, and I think that we should fight while we still can. Like,
Yeah.
I'm from a country, from a city that I know that fighting is important while that's still available. Because if not, then it's gonna be a very dangerous place for everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, like it's tough. It's tough. Like I can see how, like, when you make any statements, if they didn't know about you, it would be extremely extremely difficult, because having white passing, that is to them, is a to maybe a lot of people in the black community, is a privilege. They see them as like, oh wow, you have all the good stuff. Of course they'll treat you well, but then you also, I'm sure, get the hate from both sides, and that's really hard, because like at the root, it's just like, I just want us to be equal. That's the thing. We just want to fight for the good fight, and it kind of sucks when you're getting pushed back from both.
Yeah, it's and, this person in the chat said it really well. It's, you wanna be wanted, but you wanna be wanted as you, which is kind of
Hmm.
what I was talking about before, in the when I why I stepped away from the cosplay community. I wanna be wanted for me, which is why hosting feels so nice, because me is good enough, just like that. I don't have to put on a costume. I don't have to do anything. I just have to be me. And you wanna be wanted just for you. And, you know, I I am of the mind where we are all going to make mistakes down this road. We have all made mistakes. We've all said the wrong thing. Or whatever it may be. And, cancel culture is real. It is there. It is happening. And, it's people fighting for things that have been done to them for so long. But the other thing we also have to realize is we can't condemn people that are willing to change if they make a mistake. Because if we
Mm,
do that, there will be no one else left to help us fight for it. And
mhm.
so there's a difference between somebody being blatantly like, I don't care your opinion or whatever, and then somebody admitting that they've made mistakes and that they wanna work harder and they wanna work better and they wanna be an ally, and then they trip up and they make a mistake, and that's where you step in and you as a friend, you hold them accountable and then you help lift them back up. Because if you know, just destroy them for making that one mistake, they might not ever wanna try again.
I say that all the time, but I don't think people see that, and that's the one of the biggest fallacy in cancel culture. Like we should encourage improvement, not try to go for perfect, because nobody is perfect.
Yeah,
And our
it's
definition of perfect keep changing every day. What is acceptable 50 years ago is definitely not acceptable now. Like even the standard for, as you said, your parents are, a biracial couple. That's not even legally allowed within some people's lifetime here. There's people who were alive, and back then that was not legal. So that is not right back then. And definitely away from perfect. But now we see that as like, that shouldn't be the case.
mhm,
So I think we should always strive for letting people to be better and encourage others to have that chance to be better.
and it's like a double-edged sword, right? You want people to be better, but then you also
Hmm.
have to be real when you can tell somebody is not interested in being better. At that point, yeah, you can have a conversation, and if you're like, this isn't going anywhere, then you can write it off, right? You're like, this person has 30 years of action where they have never changed and never done anything better, as opposed to somebody that's genuinely trying to like, be better. And I feel like that's what we're missing is being able to judge that
Mm,
because sometimes our emotions dictate our actions more than our conscious mind to step away and be empathetic. But then there's people that, you know, don't deserve that empathy,
hmm.
and it's like a wibbly wobbly line of like what you should and shouldn't do, and you're damned if you're do and you damned if you don't. Um, and so it's a long road, and I'm hoping with so much going on right now, with everything, in the gaming industry, in the cosplay industry, and in life and equality, that this is something that we continue moving forward because if we just forget this blip, it's gonna happen again.
Hmm. One thing I think is very missing, and I don't have an answer for this. This is something I observe and I can see is that we're not really good at encouraging positive behavior. Like it's very easy to point out the wrong. It's like someone did something bad. It's like, yeah, we tell them, it's like, this is bad. No, cool. But we don't, because our industries are still very young,
Mhm.
but it's multiple industry too, is that we don't have a way to say, that person's doing great. You all should be kind of like that person. So it's hard for people who try to want to be better and want to be accepted and want to be also do the right thing, but don't know what the right thing is, you know?
Mhm.
And we don't have that. It's kind of like a role model,
Mhm.
especially now in gaming as well. So I think we're trying to find that balance.
Yeah, I think it's a balance that I struggled with a long time, and to be quite honest, therapy helped me figure that out.
Mm,
And to help me realize that sometimes you have to look inside, you know what I mean? And
hmm.
realize that maybe you're also making mistakes and that you
So
have
this is
to be
for
able
me.
to yeah.
As I get older, I feel like a lot of things I'm saying sound more and more cliche, but it feel like more and more true. Does that happen
I
to you?
think yeah, oh, all the time. I've been saying it forever. I say, "Be the change you want to see."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've said it forever, and I mean it, because
Yeah.
nothing will change if you don't set the tone and be an example of what you want to see, and that's exactly what it is. I don't want somebody to put me up on a pedestal and be like, "You need to be like her." I would hate that. I'd be like, "No." You know what I mean? Just let me be me over here, and, like, if you like what I'm doing, do that too. But yeah, I think it takes a lot of internal reflection to figure that
Hmm.
out.
From I feel like we're very diverse in people, but we're not very diverse in culture. And America is very still trying to figure out what that is like.
Mhm.
So it become very. I see a lot of people on the internet is very hypocritical,
Yeah.
and it's scary when people use buzzword or buzz phrases and think like I hate things like oh good vibes only. I like that's it's avoiding the problem. That is just telling people like don't say anything that is not even negative. It could be anything that's just like trying to be better.
Mhm.
So it's taking some time. Like America is very young as a country, and anything
Yeah.
within that is gonna be even younger. So I guess we're still trying to figure that out.
I think we totally are, and we don't have a culture that, um, tells you to fix problems. We have a
Mm,
culture that, um, tells you to hide your problems and not talk about your feelings, and that you need to have this image of perfection, you know what I mean? And the
mhm,
the the, like, perfect glimpse of that is during the '50s. When like the perfect housewife and this and you do this and whereas opposed to like now it's not so much perfect and everything's kind of been flipped on its head and its access as we've progressed forward and moved forward as a culture and a country, and we have a long way to go. I love history, so I'm like I know a lot about other histories. I'm like, you want to know what they went through? uh And so I feel like we're finally getting to that hump where, like, maybe we'll find out in, like, 20, 30, 40 years really who we are as a country, but I just see us we're working, we're trying, you know?
I always say this: America is such a young country. We have been around. America, independence was 1776, so it's about like 300 something years. That's just about. And I say this all the time too. Let's say a person is about 80 years life. That's for example, average. Um, and you times that by three, and that's it. It's only about three people. That's how far American as a history itself. So it's a very very young country. So we still trying to figure things out, and yeah, we're getting better at it. We just need to really, work toward. This is work. It's work.
It's
It's not.
hard work.
Yeah. So that's great. Anyway, thank you so much. This is great. It's a lot of fun. I love chatting with you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Ladee Danger. You can find me on Instagram at the Ladee Danger. You can find me on Twitter at Brittany Michelle. But if you just search Lady Danger in Twitter, you'll find me. And Martin's amazing, and I'm so glad to be here to talk with you. I can't believe it took 40 episodes for you to invite me on, Martin.
I love to see you in person too sometimes when, most of these are over.
I would love to hang out when this is over.
And hopefully it doesn't require me locking myself out of my home.
Oh, yeah, I hope not.
So yeah, last time I saw, is this the last time or have I seen you since
No,
then?
you've seen me since then at, like, a con
Okay,
or
okay.
something.
Good, good, good. Because like one time when I first moved to LA, I only know so many people in LA, and Brittany is someone I can trust. So I gave her my keys because I know someday I will lock myself out. And in the last month, that was before I moved out, I did lock myself out. So like, I feel really bad too. I was like, hi Brittany, I kind of locked myself out. Do you still have that key?
And I was like, "Yes."
So I'm so glad you came through. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. Everyone, thank you so much for watching, for gifting sub, or for following everything. I love you guys. We'll be back again on Thursday. But again, you can also watch this on YouTube and listen to it on iTunes, on Spotify, everything. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.